The Lich had always stood out to me like a sore thumb. The Adventure Time universe has so many antagonists and terrible people that have made terrible decisions, but none of them have ever felt like actual evil characters. They all had their own motives that grounded them and made them feel like real people. I can relate and sympathize with every single one of the antagonists, and it's genuinely hard to say that if I were in their circumstance, I would have chosen differently. At one point or another, all the main antagonists of the show were able to be redeemed. A great example of this would be the Ice King. Ice King was initially this insane, pervy creep, but we later find out that before the crown's madness, he was a genuinely good man. He showed love to a little girl that had never known it, and eventually made the ultimate sacrifice to save her. Later on in the show, he regains his sanity and instantly tries to make amends to the people in his past. Another great example of this is Fern. Fern is not inherently evil. He was just dealt an insanely bad and weird hand. He was Finn, and then all of a sudden, he was replaced. He had his consciousness stuffed into a body made of grass. Everyone he used to know now greets him with panic, confusion, and rejection. No one was able to accept him as Finn. He desperately tries everything to be like his flesh counterpart and fails repeatedly. This failure eventually breaks him, but in the end, he's able to see the light and redeems himself at the cost of his life by killing the grass demon. This is what makes the Lich so unique within Adventure Time. He's never given a full background, motives, or even redemption. Every time he's on screen, he's this entity that's inhuman, alien, and uncanny to a degree that makes me genuinely uncomfortable every time I see him. He was truly evil, and the most evil we've ever seen embodied in Adventure Time. After finishing Fionna and Cake, I just couldn't get the show out of my mind. The series was great. It had a good story with a lot of emotional maturity and a great cast of new characters, but two characters in particular stood out to me the most: Simon Petrikov and the Lich. Simon is very clearly the main protagonist of the show. Even though the show is named after Fionna and Cake and the main story is told through their eyes, it's still very much Simon's story, about tragic love, loss, and sacrifice. I'll talk more about Simon another day. In this video, I want to talk about the Lich. The show did something truly terrifying that Adventure Time never could. Fionna and Cake stood to humanize the Lich. In Adventure Time, the Lich is portrayed as the ultimate embodiment of evil and entropy. He was cold, relentless, and stopped at nothing to achieve his goal, the extinction of all life in Ooh. Throughout Adventure Time, he shows very little interest or ambition to anything that doesn't further his goal. It's been shown time and time again that the Lich is incredibly cunning, manipulative, and deceptive. There's not an example more perfect than the time he used Billy's body to convince Finn and Jake into opening a wormhole into Prismo's time room. He's extremely calculated and very rarely speaks, and when he does, it's rarely ever more than a few sentences at a time, and he rarely shows any emotions. He is, by all means, a killing machine. After being granted his wish from Prismo for the extinction of all life, the Lich is warped away. The wish created another reality where he succeeded in his life's goal. In episode 7 of Fionna and Cake, we get to visit this world. The Lich sits on his throne of skulls as new life walks in. An opportunity presents itself for him to kill, but unlike other timelines, he doesn't take it. He's depressed. In completing his life's goal, he no longer has a purpose, and would rather serve as a battery for Simon's spell than do anything. The Lich is known in the Adventure Time universe as the last scholar of Golb, implying that he was a follower of Golb, someone who studied and worshipped Golb, and it led me to believe that his goal of causing chaos and death was his own twisted way of keeping Golb's teachings alive, or maybe that the spectacles of death and chaos that he created were to serve as payment for the power he was given. But in this scene, he stands before his god, and he begs them to notice him, for them to validate, reward, or give any semblance of meaning to his actions. To me, this implies that the extinction of all life was not the final step in his plan. It was just a means to an end. This scene serves to humanize the Lich. It shows us that he's not just a numb, mindless agent of chaos. He's moral. He's capable of having emotions and understanding that what he did was wrong. But then why? Why did he do what he did? What could the Lich have wanted from golb? What were the ends that justified the extinction of all life in U? I absolutely love the contrast between this Lich and the one presented in Adventure Time. He was always so sure of himself and of what he was, but we find him now and he's unsure of his own identity. He's questioning his god and reflecting on his actions and wondering if it had all been for nothing. It's hard to sympathize or even relate with the guy, but in this scene, I can at least empathize with him. I know what this feeling is. I know this pain, and I bet most of you know it too. For me, it was the pursuit of work and education. I worked my ass off day in and out, and when I finally achieved what I sought to earn, I felt nothing. I sacrificed so many life experiences and relationships to get to that position. I never got to experience young love or have an active social life, and now looking back, I wish I could have changed it all. Like the Lich, I worked hard to achieve my goal, and I did it for the sole purpose of achieving a goal. And like him, I made the grave mistake of doing it all at the expense of everything.
Let's go in the garden. You'll find something waiting right there where you left it, lying upside down. When you finally find it, you'll see how it's faded. The underside is lighter when you turn it around.